You what? Yeah.
I put the negative 12 as a positive, like, a lot.
Okay.
Even with the negative sign there, I kept thinking,
Like, be so conscious of your. So, in Linker, we have this saying that says go slow to go fast. Like, if you do it, like, right the first time, you take your time, you do it right the first time, it's better than if you rush through it and you have a mistake and you have to go back through and do it all over again. So this is one of those things, like, before you start, take a nice deep breath and be really focused. So our goal the first time, and you didn't have to do it the exact same way as me, but I feel like if you follow this pattern, like I did your keys following this pattern. So, and it was relatively not, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not painful. Obviously, this is not like enjoyable, but it wasn't terrible. So I want the 0, I want the 1 in the top left corner. So I multiplied this by -1. You didn't have to do it that way, but that's, to me, was the easiest way to do it. Then I wanted to get the 0 where the 2 is. If you go to get that first 0, you technically could use the first row or the third row to get that 0. If it's easy, like if the bottom row says -2, then just add them. You don't have to use row 1. But if you did the 1 in the top spot, all you have to do is multiply that row by the opposite of what you're trying to get rid of. So I multiplied by -2 and added it to row 1. And you better write these steps out. I'm telling you right now, you're a very smart human beings. But when you try to do things in your head, this is when you make stupid mistakes. So I write it out. And I got 0, 1, -1, -12. That replaced row 2. Then I want to get a 0 where the 3 is. If you've put the 1 at the top, this should be easy. All you have to do is multiply by the opposite. So -3, R1 plus R3, and you add it. And this replaces row 3. This is my new matrix at the top. Then I want to get a 0 where the 5 is. And for this step, if my second row was not already a 1, if this was not already a 1, this guy, I would have multiplied by the reciprocal of this to get that to be a 1, because then it will be easy to do this. So this 0, you could use either rows. But this 0, you can only use row 1, because row 2 is now 0. And this 0, you can only use row 2, or you will lose your first 0. So when I go to get this last 0 as a part of the Gaussian elimination, I have to use row 2. So I take row 2 and I multiply it by its opposite. So -5 row 2 plus row 3, and I got 0, 0, 3, 21. And right there, I'm going to check and make sure that's a whole number. I said it yesterday, but this test that's on Monday, I did not do your makeup yet, so I'm not giving a disclaimer for your makeup. But your test on Monday, I made sure they're whole numbers. So at that point, I would say, can I multiply by the reciprocal and get it to be a whole number? If you can, then at least you know you're on the right track. If you can't, then that's where you have to pause and go back and retrace your steps already. Good job. Once you get the diagonals of 1s and the 0 below, you're going to put it into your triangle system, and then you're going to solve. So that first answer should have been 3, -5, 7. That gets you 18 points. Then it says rewrite the row echelon form from the previous equation. So I go back to my diagonal of 1s with the 0s below. I rewrite it, and I continue to solve it using Gauss-Jordan. For me, I follow the pattern working my way up. So I get a 0 here. To get that 0, you have to use row 3. Otherwise, you're losing the first 0. So I multiply, or I just added them here. And I got 0, 1, 0, -5. And that replaces the second row. Then I want to get the 0 where the 1 is. It doesn't matter if you get the 1 or the -1 first, but I go there. In order to get that, you have to use it with row 3, because otherwise you're going to lose. Because otherwise there's nothing to multiply 0 by to cancel it out. So I did row 1 plus row 2. Oh, that's to get the other one. Row 1 plus row 2 got this 0. And then to get this 0, you multiply row 3 by -1 and add it to row 1, and you get the 1, 0, 0, 3. So this ending reduced row echelon form should produce the same answer as the first time you completed this question. I beg of you to practice this stuff, okay? The one on the review that gave you like the no solution.
How do you know which one's RP factor?
word problems, like obviously go back over your quiz. You're gonna see your interest word problems. You could see your perimeter word problems. You could see things like your ticket sales, like your, I don't know what else we had, oranges and grapefruit. If you want to ask I period, what did your word problem look like? They're gonna have another example for their quiz. Feel free to ask them. It's just another example problem. Okay. You are definitely getting supply and demand. You are definitely getting break even. And then you're going to get some other word problem mixed in there. And obviously the initial ones, you need to make sure you're ready for your regular systems. And your graphing, there's that one that says graph. It's not going to happen. You don't need to worry about that part. For the partial fraction decomposition, remember something like 55 and 56 are on the test for regular credit. Something like 58 with your repeated factor and what we did in the notes yesterday, that's your bonus question. That's what you'll get to last. If when you factor it out, something repeats. So like if you go to factor 58, you get X, where's my 58? You get X, here. You get X minus 2 and X minus 2 again. So X minus 2 is your repeated factor. Or the one we did yesterday was X squared. Then X is your repeated factor. Yeah. It says bonus. Yeah, literally last question says bonus, worth 5 points. Yep. I would say make sure you're ready. All right, so this is 58. Shh. Again, please don't make me yell over you. 58 is started with this as my denominator. X times X squared minus 4X plus 4. When you factor that, that becomes X, X minus 2, and X minus 2. And that's where I know I have a repeated factor because X minus 2 would be squared. So my repeated factor questions, I would put A over X. Then I put B over the factor to the first power. And then C over the factor to the second power. Then I multiply out what I'm missing. So I'm missing from A both X minus 2's. From B, I'm missing the X and the second X minus 2. And from C, I'm missing the X. The numerator is 2x to the squared. Okay, so I actually have to FOIL this out. And it comes back to this. X squared minus 4x plus 4. So my numerators are 2x squared plus 3x minus 3 equals A times x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus bx times x minus 2 plus cx. And then I distribute. So 2x squared plus 3x minus 3 equals ax squared minus 4ax plus 4a plus bx squared minus 2bx plus cx. Then I want to group together all the squared terms. So 2x squared is going to equal ax squared plus bx squared. Then I want to group together all the x to the first terms. So 3x is going to equal negative 4ax minus 2bx plus cx. And then I'm going to group together the constants. So negative 3 equals 4a. I'm going to get rid of all the x's at this point. If I divide by x squared here, all the x squareds go away. So I get 2 equals a plus b. Get rid of all the x's here. I get 3 equals negative 4a minus 2b plus c. And then this one I can actually solve for a. A is negative 3/4. I'm only going to be able to plug that back into one of them because one has 2 variables and one has 3. So I'm going to plug it back in to that first one. I get 2 equals negative 3/4 plus b. I'd get b equals 2 plus 3/4. 2 is 8/4, so this is b is 11/4. And then I have to plug back into the middle one to get the c. Negative 4 times negative 3/4 minus 2 times 11/4 plus c. The 4's cancel, so I get 3 equals 12, positive 3. It'd be negative 1 times negative 3. 2 goes into 4 twice, minus 11/2 plus c. If you want to get rid of the fraction, like you could just multiply everything by 2. it'd be 6 equals 6 minus 11 plus 2c. 6 equals -5 plus 2c. 2c equals 11, and c equals 11 over 2. And then this could happen on your repeated factor one too, so make sure you remember that if the answers for A, B, or C are fractions, you cannot leave a complex number. So I put the A, which is -3/4 over the x. I put the B, which was 11/4 over the x minus 2. I put the C, which is 11 over 2 over this x minus 2 squared. But you can't leave the fractions. You got to bring these down. So it'd be -3 over 4x plus 11 over 4 times x minus 2 plus 11 over 2 times x minus 2 squared. Questions? So again, that the repeated factor part of that is on the bonus question. Where is that? Like 86, you're not going to get a no solution. But 92 and 94 are good practice. I will even post some extra practice today. Make sure you come in confident. You don't want to be stumbling through your steps. You want to know exactly what you have to do next, okay?